surprised that you are here today first because we called another meeting in regards to the budget that was even more urgent than this. And I see your meeting scheduled, the meeting of Brahmi scheduled, but the actual important meeting that allows you to operate isn't scheduled. But I guess that's some internal party stuff that you guys have to deal with yourself. But in terms of budget, since I missed the notification, I still want to say that we still don't have an update on the budget. I know we're discussing today a meeting on casinos, but I'll just take a minute to discuss the budget itself. It's about 2 months now that the government has not brought forward a budget. We don't have a government accord, so we can't even hold the government accountable on the things that they believe in. Because today we're having a meeting on lotteries and casinos, but maybe in your government accord or your governing program that you want to have 10 more casinos every year. I mean, that's part of your plan. So if that's part of your plan, then I wouldn't call an urgent meeting because I know that's what you're executing. That's what you want to execute. So without a governing program, we cannot hold you accountable to what you want to execute and what you want to do. In regards to the budget, I guess that probably coalition already knows, but we now know that the budget has to be resubmitted. So I'm assuming that at some point in time between today, tomorrow, at the end of this week, that this coalition, through the chair, will update the rest of us, I guess, mayor, peasant, opposition members on the status of the budget and the fact that now the whole country will be shackled for another couple of weeks because the government now has to continue to execute on 2024. You know what's surprising? The energy we had when it came to the referendum, I remember some MPs, MP Westcott, MP Rayan Peterson, MP Shamira, they were quick to jump up and say, Constitution, we know the law, follow the law. But how come when it comes to the whole budget, there's just like silence. There's silence. So all of a sudden now we don't know the Constitution anymore. We don't know the laws anymore when it comes to the budget. And you know, I continue to do a little bit of digging and researching, and I went to the archives and got some information. And to no surprise, this isn't the first time we had a situation. Because the first time that this happened was the first budget of Country St. Martin in 2011.
I'd like to make this first thing clear. In no way whatsoever, I, or the United People's Party, are against the opening of any businesses, okay? We truly believe that it is important to literally put businesses out there because that is how we collect taxes, how we give jobs, and how we are able to take care of our people here on St. Martin. But this always needs to be done according to law, responsibly, and making sure that the locals are not the ones that are going to suffer from this issue. Madam Chairlady, during the budget debate, I asked the minister, what is the job of a casino controller? In the policy, it states one of the jobs or the duties of the casino controller is to oversee and make sure that locals do not enter the casino more than 4 times a month. In our time in TIAT, the discussion was held with the Economic Controlling Department and iPads, and the minister corrected me, it wasn't iPads, it was, what do you call it? Not iPads. Tablets were issued, purchased, and a live document, a Word or Excel live document that all casino controllers could be on at the same time, putting in simply every ID number that walks into the casino would have been more than enough to keep track of this 4 times a year or a month policy. This was not done. I also expected that after the budget debate that this information was divulged or brought to light, that the minister would have reacted on it. So my first question is, has anything been done with this? Seeing the problem that we have today on the island. Then, Madam Chair Lady, I did some research myself, and I know there's a El Baham for lotteries and casinos, and there's also a policy. My first question, what year was the El Baham issued or made public? What year was the policy? And which one supersedes the other? Or is it that they work, one complements the other, or fills in what is missing from the other? On page 4, on page 7 of the policy, it states that a license is not transferable. Would the minister elaborate a little on that? What does transferable mean? Does it mean to move from A to B, or to move from person A to person B? Please elaborate on that.
For the minister to then show me, because I'm looking at the minister's presence, her demeanor, very confident. So for the minister to show me that, hey, legally, or what I did was legal, would make my rant irrelevant. But what I do see, Honorable Minister, through you, Madam Chair, is I don't know if this governing accord is established or finished. Because I do see across the aisle there's a big difference in opinions and a difference in the way that, through you, Madam Chair, the Honorable Minister of TAD operates and the rest of the coalition operates. I have heard members of the same coalition scream, stop casinos, stop casinos. As a matter of fact, one of our very first presentations in January was a mock debate on casinos or no casinos, in which, through you, Madam Chair, to the Honorable Minister of TAD, your very own leader and the Chair of Parliament gave a emotional and remarkable, you're welcome, remarkable speech on why no more casinos, on gambling, on addiction, on the cause of it. Now, I know you may be a member of the Democratic Party, but you stem from the United People's Party, and you believe in business, you believe in economic growth, unless that changed. So I say that I echo the sentiments of my colleague, MP Francisco La Cruz. We are not against business, economic booms. As a matter of fact, if a company or a developer wants to do 200 rooms, through you, Madam Chair, I am for it. I am for it, because 200 rooms comes with a construction boom, 200 rooms comes with employment during the construction period and after. But again, the way that the Minister of Rummy is operating, I don't even think that that would happen. But we'll deal with that at 3 o'clock, Madam Chair. So, Honorable Minister of TAD, the policy says 200 rooms. It can be given at 65% of rooms completed. Then you have 2 years to complete the remainder. The big elephant in the room is one basic question. Does this establishment have 65% of 200 rooms? I don't know. I didn't went and count. Online sources says 88 rooms, which falls short of 65%. And when I listen to the debate, Honorable Minister of TAD, through you, Madam Chair, not the debate, the press briefing, the Honorable Minister of TAD states that she was following the instructions of the previous minister, whereby the 65% was mentioned. So my main question today is, does this establishment meet the requirements of 200 rooms or the 65%? Also, Honorable Minister of TAD, based on the policy, I could be corrected, to my understanding, is it the intention to bring an amendment to these policies, the casino policies? Is it the intention to do so?
social and health insurances. SZV, your social and health insurances.
Are you SZV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SZV is cardless. Request your My SZV account today and enter the virtual office of SZV. Go to szv.sx and sign up now.
SZV, yeah, your social and health insurances.
Then I wanted to give an update on the incident at the prison last week, which has been far and wide in the media, both locally and abroad. What I want to be clear about again, and it's to echo what I said during the weekend in statements made to the press, what happened on Saturday is unacceptable. I recognize the seriousness of the matter, and I'm fully committed to ensuring that such incidents do not happen again. To this end, we've formulated a structured approach with short, mid, and long-term solutions that are aimed at improving security, the operational efficiency, and the overall conditions at the prison. The finalization of these plans is in progress, and I will provide more updates as we move forward, and I have confirmation of certain elements therein. Additionally, I want to reiterate also that where necessary, disciplinary measures will be taken to ensure accountability. The safety and security of both the staff and detainees remain my top priority, and we are working diligently to address the systemic challenges that we face up at the Point Blanche prison. Then I wanted to also give an update on the LBA process, Batch 13. Regarding Batch 13 and the ongoing process, the matter was as follows. Upon coming in, I was confronted with Batch 12 that had already been completed, and I received them just to basically countersign and hand them out. Each batch contains about 25 individuals. Upon handing out batch 25 or batch 12, what I realized in the discussions with those who were receiving their Landsbesluiten was that almost everyone, maybe 20 of the 25, said to me, "Minister, I'll be objecting this because it's wrong." That being said, I didn't want to continue then with kind of selling people hot air. And I was like, I'm not going to then continue with a process where there's no buy-in on the side of the persons whose problems we're trying to solve. So that meant that we decided to have extra scrutiny when it came to batch 13 to avoid on the back end getting again that people are receiving Landsbesluiten, but then having to object to these. So of the 25 files that we have under review, when it comes to batch 13, 10 of the 25 seem from our extra due diligence to be ready to be processed. 15 files, however, of the 25 will require further attention due to what we've already found to be discrepancies between the placement offer and the final salary scale or increment recorded in the draft national decree. These discrepancies arose because after issuing placement offers, it became clear that a full validation of personnel information was necessary. So we were doing an extra check. So I want to remind my critics out there that it's not just a matter of compiling people's files and saying, okay, now make a Landsbesluit. There's a lot more due diligence that needs to go into this process to ensure that you have completely taken into account that person's employment history, make the necessary calculations. And with that full validation, what has been revealed is that there are several key issues. There are salary increases or adjustments that were not known to the placement committee at the time of the initial offer, so then we have a discrepancy. And then there are also cases where the initial placement offer resulted in a net salary deficit. We've all know that a person cannot go backwards when they are then placed. So what this meant is that it requires an upward adjustment to correct the discrepancy in the person's net salary. Another issue that we've identified is incorrect salary increment adjustments over an employee's tenure, which leads to miscalculations that then affect the final placement. I know that it's also been generally acknowledged among personnel that the placement offers may contain errors. However, I find it necessary to directly engage with the affected staff members to inform them of these corrections. Transparency and proper communication remain a top priority in ensuring that all personnel receive fair and accurate placements. To this end, I will be inviting these 15 individuals that we've identified where there are discrepancies They'll be personally invited and be contacted throughout this week and next week to come into the cabinet so that we can go through these issues with them. Again, what I'm trying to avoid is that we end up in a process where for years we have employees that are fighting for their placements, receive a lump slide that is still wrong, and then have to continue to fight for their placement. I want this to be a process where there is buy-in and where there's commitment and where people can be sure that when they receive that lunch slide that they don't have to be coming back again to object it. So if that means that we need to put in a little more hours, that it's going to slow down a little more, I think that that will bring more value to the employees because again, I can rush now and hand out LBAs. But if I know that you're going to end up having to object that and then you're going to be a year further before you receive the correction to that, then I think we're just as far away from home.
I want to make it very clear that significant progress is being done or is being made behind the scenes. Today, I will touch on some of the key developments that are currently underway. AOV legislation meant to provide our seniors with the much-needed tax relief. I would like to provide an update on the AOV legislation being worked on with the intent of providing relief to our seniors, which remains a top priority for me. I have consistently stated my commitment to ensuring relief for our elderly who are in great need of financial alleviation. I know several MPs would be very happy to hear this update, and particular MP York will be pleased as he has been diligent in requesting updates during parliamentary meetings since I made the announcement that I will be bringing this legislative change to provide relief to our seniors. The draft legislation is near completion. However, we were awaiting underlying data to support the law and demonstrate its positive impact on seniors to finalize the draft. The primary goal is to prevent AOV income from being classified as a taxable source of income. Currently, many seniors cannot survive on their AOV income alone, as it is below the minimum wage, requiring them to seek additional income. However, once they do, their AOV income is added to their total taxable income, resulting in higher taxation. Based on recent data, there are approximately 6,300 seniors, of which more than 85% that are currently being taxed would benefit positively from the proposed changes by falling into a lower tax bracket. The impact is as follows. 823 seniors would move from the 12.5% bracket to zero, making their income completely tax-free. 368 seniors would move from 20% to zero, also making their income completely tax-free. 421 seniors would move from the 20% category to the 12.5%. 365 seniors would move from 26.25% to 20. 277 seniors would move from 33.75% to the 26.25%. 55 seniors would move from 33.75% to 20%. 147 seniors would move from 40% to 33.75%, and 65 seniors would move from the 47.5% to the 40% category. This legislation will bring significant relief to many seniors, and I want to emphasize that data-driven decision-making is key to implementing effective legislative changes. While the full legislative trajectory still needs to be followed, I wanted to assure the public that work is progressing diligently in the background. I will continue to provide updates as the process advances. Tourist tax. Another key legislative initiative is the tourist tax. And as promised, I will continue to keep the public informed. Together with the Minister of TIAT and the Minister of VSA, I met with the SER to address their concerns and discuss their questions. It was a productive and positive meeting, and we look forward to receiving their formal advice soon. Once the SER's recommendations are received, we will assess which aspects will be incorporated, make necessary adjustments, and proceed with the next step in the legislative process, which is the review by the Council of Advice. In the meantime, while the legislative process is ongoing, I am also focusing on implementation, as we do not intend to wait until the law is finalized to begin planning for its execution. Both the legislative framework and the operational implementation have my full attention. I would like to remind the public that the tourist tax remains a top priority for me, as it is key to implementing broader tax reforms. Its successful implementation will enable me to follow through on my commitment to reducing profit tax and making the much-needed adjustments to wage tax rates or tax brackets, providing relief to the working people of St. Martin. The data for these key legislative adjustments are also being collected to be analyzed. As I have continuously emphasized, the working people of St. Martin cannot continue to bear the financial burden alone. It is essential that we establish a fairer tax structure that allows for sustainable revenue generation while easing the tax pressure on hardworking individuals. Digitalizing income tax filing. While the digital tax system has been delayed due to the retendering process, I want to reassure the public that we are still making progress. A key improvement we are working on is the digital submission of income tax return. Even though we may not finalize this in time for the May 31st, 2025 income tax filing deadline, I have stressed the importance of moving forward regardless, even if it is introduced at a later date. We must get out of the Stone Age, not only for the taxpayers' convenience, but also for our tax employees who are still required to manually process filings, even though businesses can submit their taxes online. This redundant system is prone to errors and inefficiencies, making modernization essential. Just as we successfully implemented CENTU to facilitate vehicle tax payments, I remain committed to modernizing tax administration to improve efficiency and convenience for taxpayers and our hardworking tax employees. To date, CENTU has processed payments demonstrating its effectiveness in streamlining the payment process. Please note that the vehicle tax payment via CENTU was just phase 1. My intention is to expand this payment option further, allowing taxpayers to use CENTU for tax payments in the future. This is part of my commitment to modernizing tax administration, making payments more accessible and efficient for everyone. I will continue to keep you updated on any new developments as we expand and enhance digital payment solutions and digital tax filings for the people of St. Martin.
Your social and health insurance is your social and health insurance.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
It's time time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun, the majestic brown pelican, our national symbol, the radiant yellow sage, our national flower, the historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides, our exciting cruise, yachting, and boating ports, renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past, to embrace our present, and shape our future. Our culture and diversity, Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping, cruises, boating, and yachting, twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation, splendid and scenic accommodations, Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
I'd like to clarify some statements made this morning in the press release of the Daily Herald, where it indicates that a stop has been given to Westview. I think it's very important to clarify what actually has been stopped. That is the works related to civil works that were ongoing. That includes the excavation. What's very important to clarify as well is that it's stated as well in the article is that the building permit is already given and approved. And as such, if we have to find a more substantial, we have to find a substantial reason to revoke that building permit. And as such, the building permit itself has not been stopped. It is the civil works that are ongoing that has been stopped due to the fact that they don't have a civil works permit. That does not mean, of course, that the government is not continuing the investigation. That is, of course, ongoing. I want to clarify as well, as stipulated in 28A of the building ordinance, written consent is required before carrying out all major civil works. Civil works, as defined by the building ordinance, includes excavation, leveling, road construction, water management, demolition, tree removal, and the filling in of water. As I stated, as soon as I came in as minister and continue to state, that means everyone on St. Martin who is in the middle or beginning construction is required to have a civil works permit. It is not just for large developments, it is everyone who decides to engage in construction. This is something that has not been systematically used and implemented by the ministry. It's something that we have been discussing now for quite several months, as stated before, and going forward, it formed part of our improvements and enhancements to the ministry on the way we operate. Secondly, I'd like to remind everyone that the temporary closure of a section of Ebenezer Main Road. This is particularly in the areas of W.R. Plants Road and J.C. Papp Road. These are the roads just next to and next to that of the MPC school. This is part of the ministry's hillside stabilization project, and the road will be closed until Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. I'd like to remind everybody that this is part of the ministry's response to severe erosion that has been ongoing along the Ebenezer Trench for a number of years. Concerns about this were brought to the government since 2010, with letters submitted in 2020, 2021 related to erosion and cliff face falling. Upon taking office, we found this to be very important to address. We began assessments of the cliffside in August 2024 and completed all studies in February 2025, with interventions beginning last week with the closure this week to facilitate the removal of debris. This, of course, includes, as we know, what happened with the fallen septic and cistern from Valley Estate down into residents in Ebenezer. Again, I want to thank the residents of Ebenezer for their patience and trust in me, my team, and the ministry. And of course, as we begin to address these long-standing issues, they will, of course, cause some inconvenience, and for that, we do apologize. Finally, as relates to the National Gazette, I'd like to remind everyone that you can exercise your democratic right to review permits approved by the ministry's permit department. As part of our commitment to transparency and public participation, we encourage residents to stay informed about developments in their community. Approved permits are published bi-weekly, so that's every other week, in the National Gazette, accessible through the government's official website. As citizens, you have a 6-week period to submit objections to permits granted. Objections must be submitted in writing and addressed to the Ministry of Romy. We encourage everyone to exercise this right to ensure active participation in the decision-making process, and encourage the continued development of our nation. For more information, please contact the Ministry of Romy at romy-permits@stmartingov.org. You can find directions to access the National Gazette on my Facebook page, as well as the Ministry of Romy's page. This will be uploaded shortly after the press briefing.